So I've been purposely, 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 and I can't say that word. What up, nerds, and welcome to The Nerdy Narrative. My name is Leslie Smith, and today's video is just a chat about all of the things that I read last week. What I read, what I'm still working on, what I plan to read next. We'll start with what's coming up on the channel over the next couple of weeks. On Tuesday, I finally got around to editing my non-spoiler dedicated review for the failed Technomancer for Boo Ludlow. For those of you who are fans of science fiction, heavily influenced with horror and dark fantasy, you're going to want to tune in for this one. It's in a post-apocalyptic setting after flesh-eating robots have just about wiped out the human race. And then on Friday, since I won't be around to film a weekly update, I have saved my January TBR video for that day so you can see what I'm going to be reading during the month of January, what I'm going to start off 2024 with. That brings us to what did I read this week? We're going to start with the things that I finished. First up, just like I said when I was filming last week, I was going to finish The Night of the Moon, the novella that is the prequel to the series The Dance of Light by Gregory Contaxis. I was telling my book twin, Esme, my reaction. She read it before I did, and she knew I was going to love it. She was so excited when I was finally getting around to read it. But I told her I thought I was going to have to get a pair of tweezers to get my eyebrows out of my hairline because that ending just shocked me. Oh, but it was so good. It was so good. I am going to do a full dedicated non-spoiler review for that one. Y'all, don't wait around for that. If you are a huge fan of grimdark or dark fantasy that has a lot of mythology in it, you are going to want to get your hands on this series. But I would say read them in publication order. Start with The Return of the Knights and follow it up with the prequel novella, because I'm telling you, reading them in that order is really going to enhance your experience with The Night of the Moon. That novella has made me so excited for the next installment of that series. Cannot wait. You guys are gonna hear all about it. Let's see, what else did I finish? The only other thing that I finished is a nonfiction essay from the bind up We Tell Ourselves Stories in Order to Live by Joan Didion. The essay that I read for this month was entitled Good Citizens. The two things that stood out to me in this essay is Hollywood is pretty much the same as it is today as it was back in the 70s. And I really liked the little excerpt where she was talking about going to Nancy Reagan's house. She was there to watch her, what she did in a normal day, a day in the life of Nancy Reagan. Turns out there was a film crew there doing the same thing, and yet they were still telling her what they wanted her to do. Just your typical Hollywood happenings and Joan's observations on that. That's the only two things that I finished this week. I am still in the midst of a whole bunch of larger works. Two of those are web serials that I'm reading, a mini tale, which I think is around 65 chapters or episodes long. The other web series are Kindrethist. I think that one's around 4,000 chapters long. I know the author has been writing on this series for 4 years, and I think he releases one chapter a week, but it's broken into 2 parts. Both of these web serials are still ongoing series. I'm really enjoying both of them. A mini tale is a cosmic fantasy about the adventures of Opaline the Mouseling, who's a world walker who is cursed to blip through time and space, universe to universe, and we read about his adventures on all of these different places that he goes to. Our Kindrethist is about Eric and Jane Flatt, a father and a daughter who piss off something that ports them to another world. This is quite simply a slice of life story about these two people learning to live and survive in this world of magic. The Advent of Winter, the anthology that is edited by fellow booktuber Dominish Books, that's still going on. I'm having so much fun. This was such a great idea to have all of these self-published authors come together and write these fantasy short stories that take place in winter and have them timed so we get one every morning. I have been looking forward to every morning and getting up, making that first cup of coffee, sitting down with my Kindle, and seeing what magic awaits me in that morning story. It continues to be my favorite thing about this holiday season so far. As soon as this anthology is available for purchase, I will definitely let y'all know. Another anthology I'm working on is called The Best of Gamut. This is a collection of 15 stories that were handpicked. They were originally published in the Gamut magazine. This magazine is being relaunched, and the last couple of days I've seen the cover for the first issue that's going to be coming out and all of the authors that are going to be a part of it, and some of those authors are going to be ones that are familiar to you. I will put a link in the description below that will be to the collection that is coming out on January 1st, 2024, as well as the authors that are going to be featured in that first issue of the relaunch. I've made it halfway through this collection, and I will say to you that a lot of these stories are speculative. They're questions about the human experience, and a lot of it's going to be left up to the reader to infer, to question further, something for you to meditate and reflect on yourself. So if you're someone who wants to have a definitive ending to a story, this collection might not be for you. I'll be the first to admit, for me to enjoy it fully, I need to be in a particular mood for that type of deep thinking. Sometimes I just don't have it in me. My brain is just like, nope, I'm not doing this today. Have I understood and enjoyed all of the stories I've read so far? No. There are some that I just don't get, but others I absolutely did click with, I did get, and it just made me excited to just think about it. I'm looking forward to continuing on. There's a lot of authors coming up that I have typically enjoyed in the past, so I can't wait to see what their stories are going to be like, and the goal is to have all of them read so that I can write a review about this collection and have it up before January 1st when it goes live. I've been chatting a lot about web serials and collections. Let's talk about the books that I'm reading. I am deep off into Knife of Dreams by Robert Jordan. I'm about halfway done with this one. Once I read the prologue in the first chapter, I was like, oh, okay. This is when everything starts to come to a head. All of our characters are on a drawstring. They're all drawing back to one another, because in the next book is the one that kicks off the start of the last battle, which of course is going to take 3 books because it's Robert Jordan, who in the last 3 books are helped along by Brandon Sanderson. A very exciting place to be in this series. Looking forward to continuing and finishing. And then the last thing that I'm working on is Sea of Souls by N.C. Scrimmager. I am about halfway, or maybe a little over halfway through, and in this one, which is the first in a fantasy series, I believe it's going to be called the Sea of Souls Saga. This one, she's taken folklore and tweaked it and just really given me something to enjoy. I'll include a link to the full synopsis down in the description box below, but so far I'm really having a good time with this one. I fully expect to continue to have a great time with this one, so keep your eyes open for my written review. That'll pop up soon, and of course I will be talking about it here on the channel when I get back from Christmas vacation. That brings us to what am I going to read next? First up on the list is Death of a Christmas Tree Salesman by Patricia Meredith. I did pre-order this on my Kindle, but then I found that it was on sale when Audible was doing their recent half-off sale, so I snatched a copy because I thought it would be really fun to listen to this one when my husband and I were driving home for the Christmas holidays. Every year, the 12 days before Christmas, Sam Shovel magically comes to life. This year, when Sam appears, he finds himself in the midst of a flurry of activity at the North Pole. The owner of the Christmas tree factory, O Tannenbaum, has been found murdered. Santa and Mrs. Claus is too busy to look into it, so Sam Shovel is on the case. I cannot wait to listen to this one. I think it's going to be so fun. The author's husband, Andrew D. Meredith, narrates the audiobook, and he is just absolutely amazing, so I am so excited to listen to this one. Continuing reading in the Dresden Files, I've got 2 graphic novels on deck. I have Dogman and Wildcard. Both of these graphic novels are included in my Kindle Unlimited subscription. So I have both of those downloaded and ready to go. As soon as I finish Sea of Souls, I'm going to be starting Lord of a Shattered Land by Howard Andrew Jones. This is the first book in the Chronicles of Hanavar. It's a sword and sorcery fantasy, and when I mentioned it was on my TBR in my last video, I had a couple of friends pop up and say that this is one of the best books they've read recently, so I am excited. I'm doubly excited because the author sent me the second book, which I put on my TBR for January. This is one I've been trying to read for a while now, so I'm really excited. Oh, wait a minute. I just kind of glanced down and I saw the word retelling pop out at me. There's a quote here from John O'Neill, World Fantasy Award-winning publisher of Blackgate. Howard Andrew Jones is the leading sword and sorcery author of the 21st century. His Lord of a Shattered Land is his best work yet, a heroic fantasy retelling of one of the greatest tales of antiquity, the fall of Carthage and its legendary general Hannibal. It's a magnificent achievement destined to become a modern classic. I didn't know it was a retelling. I love historical fantasy retellings. Oh yeah, this one is gonna be so up my alley. I am so excited. And then the last book that I'm gonna mention here is Cassidy Failing's The Awakening Fire. This is going to be a reread for me. I will put the link to my non-spoiler review that I made after I read it the first time up there if you wanna check it out. I just can't bring myself to read the second book without rereading the first book. I just can't. It was so good. I love this book so much, and if I read it as fast the second time as I did the first time, it won't take me a couple days. Of course, I am going to be reading it over the Christmas holidays, so that could interfere a little tiny bit, but that's going to do it for me this week. Merry Christmas, everyone. I think this may be the last weekly update that I do in 2023. The next time you hear from me will be in 2024. I'm just in denial that this year is already over. How did it go by so fast? At any rate, it was a fantastic year. I'm so glad you all were here with me for that journey. Can't wait to see where 2024 is going to take us. Sending you all my love until the next one. Take care, guys.